In this video today, I'm going to share an example of how subversion combat works in the game Holy War Afghanistan from S&T number 147. This is different from most of your I go, you go hex encounter games because of the time period that we're in and the fact that more than just military actions being modeled, but also political actions and things like this that are a little bit different from what you might expect. So I'm going to show you an example here of how this works. So what we're going to see here demonstrated is happening in the town of Baraki Barak. This is a town, it's a little bit south of Kabul, and occupying this town is a division-sized mobile group of the Afghan resistance. Now, just because this group occupies the hex, it does not in any way mean that it has political control of the hex. The control for the resistance is going to be determined by the fact that is it a town or a population center or a city, and does it have a communist control marker in it? If it doesn't, then it's controlled by the resistance. If there is a terror marker in it or a communist control marker, then the communists would control it. And it really doesn't matter who occupies the hex. It has to do with, is there a communist control marker or a terror marker or not? And so in this case, we have a resistance mobile group, a front that is there. It's an unreliable group, so it's shaky as to its loyalties and training. But we're going to conduct an attack, a subversion attack. So the attack is going to be launched by an adjacent unit. It has to be adjacent to the hex being attacked. And it's a Communist Party paramilitary front. And you can see that there. It can fight militarily, but it has an S on the counter, which means it can be used for subversion combat. So the combat it's going to engage in is going to basically be propaganda and agitation. And so it's going to use the subversion combat table. And so the way this is resolved is we have to find out which column we're in, and we're not actually using ratings on the unit, we're using the entire situation. So to start with, the resistance player controls the town of Baraki Barak. So that's going to be a leftward column shift in favor of the resistance. However, the Afghan government communist player decides to expend 2 agitation propaganda chits. So that is a 2 rightward column shift. However, the Afghan player, the resistance player, also decides to spend an agitation propaganda chit as a counter. So that's a 1 leftward shift. So what we get in the end here is 2 leftward shifts and 2 rightward shifts. So we end up being on the 0 or less column. So unfortunately, I need to roll a 6 to have anything happen. So it's going to be unlikely. This is most likely to be a failed attack. But if I get a 6, it's an S result, which means the defending unreliable Afghan units are neutralized. So if I rolled a 6, this unit, this Afghan the green unit would be turned sideways and basically not able to function for the rest of the turn to do anything. Also, the target hex would be converted to the attacker's side. So I would basically be putting a communist control marker in this hex, and now it's no longer, the town is no longer controlled by the resistance. So that would be what the effect of this type of a combat would be. Some of the other effects of subversion, in addition to neutralizing an enemy unit that happens to be in the area and converting the population to your side, if you're dealing with an unreliable unit, like this Afghan unit is, the green unit, it can defect, which means it will go over to the other side. So when this defection happens, the unit is eliminated. It's treated like an eliminated unit and taken off the map. But the communist player in this case could take a division and put it on its unreliable side and put it adjacent to the hex where the unit defected from. So that is one of the possible results that you can also get from doing subversion attacks. The defection really can only affect Afghani units of either side. It can't really affect intervention units and Soviet units, for example, but Soviet units can be, or intervention units like the CIA or the PRC units, they can be neutralized by subversion, which means that they would be turned sideways and then would not be able to be used for anything that turn. So remember, the turn is a 3-month period of time, so it's quite an effective thing to neutralize a unit for that period of time. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a look into it, and I thank you for watching.